The wind howled like a beast across the frozen planet. Snow whipped through the air, sharp as knives. The rescue team walked slowly, their visors fogging, boots crunching over thick ice. The planet was called Teriasavan, a new human colony world, but its winters were long, cruel, and deadly. Elias Monroe, a young science officer, moved carefully across the ridge. His scanner beeped. "There's something under the snow," he said into his comms. Surprised. "It's organic." The others stopped. "Animal?" one asked. "No, humanoid." That made everyone freeze. The team dug fast, pushing snow and ice away with their tools. After a few minutes, they saw her, a girl. She was barely alive. Her skin was pale blue, not human. Her hair was silver, stuck to her face with frozen tears. She wore no real clothes, only a thin, tattered fabric wrapped around her like rags. Her fingers were curled tightly around something. "She's alien," said one of the men. "She's a child," Elias replied. "She's dangerous," warned the squad leader, already reaching for his weapon. But Elias held up his hand. "Wait." He knelt beside her. Her lips were turning dark purple. Her eyes were half shut, barely moving. She had frostbite on her toes, but still, she was holding something. Elias gently pried the frozen paper from her fingers. It was a small, square, old, wet, almost unreadable, but on it, in shaky handwriting, were just two words: "Warm me." Everyone went quiet. No one spoke for a long moment. The wind screamed above them, but down here, all they saw was a girl clinging to life with a message that felt like a cry. "She asked for help," Elias said softly. "She's not one of us," muttered another. "But she asked," Elias repeated. "She trusted someone would read this, that someone would care." The squad leader frowned. "Protocol says no contact with unknown alien species. We don't even know what she is." "She's cold," Elias snapped. "That's what she is." He picked her up, slowly, wrapping her in his heated coat. She was light, fragile. Her skin burned with cold against his. "She'll die if we leave her." There was silence. Then, finally, the squad leader nodded. 10 minutes. Then we get her to the outpost. Back at the base, Elias laid her gently on a medical bed. Doctors ran scans. Others stayed back, afraid. Her body temperature was dangerously low. Her heartbeat was weak. She didn't open her eyes. "She's not a threat," the doctor said after a while. "No signs of infection, no weapons, no tech implanted. She's just cold." Elias stayed by her side. He placed the note on the table beside her bed. Two words haunted him. "Warm me?" It didn't sound like an alien message. It sounded like something deeply human. A whisper. A prayer. That night, Elias stayed in the medbay. He watched her chest slowly rise and fall. He brought another blanket. He kept the heat up. At midnight, she moved. Her fingers twitched, her eyes strange. Glowing faintly opened, just a crack. Elias leaned forward. "Hey, it's okay. You're safe." She blinked at him. Her eyes shimmered like melting ice. Tried to speak, but no words came out, only a quiet, painful sound. Then her lips moved silently, shaping a word. Warm. Elias felt his chest tighten. He gently reached for her hand, and, to his shock, she didn't pull away. In the morning, word spread fast. The alien girl's awake. Some people were afraid. Some said she was a trap. Others wanted to hand her over to higher command. But Elias said no. "She trusted us," he told the captain. "She asked for warmth. We gave it. That means something." The captain shook his head. "And what if her people come looking for her? What if warming her up woke up something else?" "I don't know," Elias replied honestly, "but leaving Her to die would have killed something in us too. He looked through the window at the girl. She was still weak, still quiet. But her eyes watched everything now. And she was alive, barely, but alive. Elias walked into the med bay again. She followed him with her eyes. He smiled gently. "You're safe now." She didn't speak, but for the first time, she nodded, a small, slow nod. The cold never left the outpost, even though the heaters worked, even though the walls were strong. There was always a chill in the airs if the ice outside wanted to come in. Elias sat by the alien girl's bed. He had brought a small heater and placed it beside her. A warm light glowed on her blue skin. Her silver hair was no longer frozen, just damp. Her breathing was stronger. Her body still shook sometimes, but she was alive, and watching, she didn't speak, not yet. But her eyes followed every sound, every shadow, every new person who entered the med bay. She blinked slowly, as if learning what things were. She still didn't smile. But when Elias gave her warm soup and she sipped it, he noticed. Her shoulders relaxed just a little. That was enough for him. Others weren't so patient. "Why is she still here?" snapped Officer Bren, pacing outside the glass wall. "We don't even know what species she is." "She hasn't harmed anyone," Elias said calmly. "Yet," Bren replied, "she asked for help, with a note. Who even writes notes anymore?" "She did," Elias said, standing now. "Because maybe she didn't have tech. Maybe she was alone. Maybe she was scared. She's still scared." The captain walked in. "Enough," he said sharply. "She stays for now. Higher command hasn't replied yet. Until then, we treat her like a guest." Bren growled, but left. Elias turned back to the girl. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "Some people think warmth is only for friends, but I think strangers need it even more." The girl tilted her head, like she was trying to understand his words. Then, slowly, she placed her hand over the heater and closed her eyes. Later that night, the storm returned. Outside, the wind was strong. Snow slammed against the windows like angry fists. Inside the medbay, lights flickered. Then, darkness. The whole outpost went dark. Generators failed. Heaters stopped. Doors clicked shut. Elias jumped up. Powers out. The medbay chilled. In seconds, then the girl screamed. Not loud, but sharp. Like a wounded animal, Elias rushed to her. She clutched her head. Her body trembled violently. The emergency lights blinked on. Red, dim, cold, outside the glass wall. People were running. Something was happening to the whole base. Then Elias saw her eyes, glowing brighter now. Brighter than before. Hey hits, okay? He said. Kneeling beside her, she looked at him with panic, shaking her head violently. And then, she lifted her hand. It glowed not just a color, but warmth. Real warmth. Like heat made from her skin. She touched the broken heater. It turned back on, fully, double quotes, what the? Elias gasped. Then, one by one, other heaters around the room lit up. The girl collapsed after that, breathing fast, eyes dim again. But the room was warm, very warm. The captain arrived minutes later. What happened? He barked. Elias looked down at her, still unconscious. She saved us, he said softly. She what? She restarted the heat. That's not possible. It just happened. The girl stirred. She opened her eyes again, weak but aware. She looked at Elias, and then, slowly, she pointed toward the glass window, toward the snowstorm outside, and then she shook her head. Elias understood. You're not afraid of the cold, he whispered. You're afraid of what's in it. The next morning, engineers checked the power systems. Everything was normal again. Too normal. found as if the shutdown wasn't natural. People started to whisper, maybe she caused it. No, maybe she saved us from something worse. What if she warned us? But the biggest question came when a scientist checked the logs and found a strange signal just before the blackout, a transmission. Short, fast alien code. Someone else is out there. The scientist said the captain called a meeting. Tension filled the room. If her people are near, he said, we don't know if they're friendly. Elias stood up. Then let's ask her. She doesn't talk. She understands. He walked to her room, sat across from her, held up the paper again. The one that said, warm me. Then he wrote under it, who hurt you? She took the pen. Her fingers were still weak. She drew something instead. A tall figure, eyes like knives, chains on its arms. Fire behind it, and a small figure beside it, herself, caged. Everyone saw the drawing and understood. The drawing was still on the table. The alien girl had used a black marker to show her pain. No words, just lines. Sharp, trembling lines. One tall figure stood behind her, cold and cruel, with long arms and chains. Behind that figure was fire. In front of it, she had drawn herself small and curled up, with no mouth, no voice. It was the first time they truly understood something from her. She was not just a lost child. She was a survivor of something terrible, and she had no voice left. Not yet. Elias spent more time with her after that. He brought her soft clothes, warm food, and paper every day. Me? She never said a word, but she watched everything. Her eyes were deep and strange, like they could see through metal and skin. He noticed how she followed movement, how she copied small gestures, how her body tensed when doors opened too quickly, and how she looked at fire with both love and fear. She was learning. One afternoon, Elias brought her a simple puzzle toy. She tilted her head at first, confused. Then, slowly, piece by piece, she solved it in under 2 minutes. Smart girl. Elias smiled. She looked up at him. Then, with one hand, she gently pushed the puzzle back to him. She wanted him to try. Others in the outpost weren't as friendly. She hasn't told us where she's from, Bren muttered in the mess hall. She hasn't explained how she powered the heaters, or who's looking for her. She probably doesn't even know who she is, said a medic softly. She's playing you all, Bren grumbled. Just wait. You'll see. But nobody could ignore the strange transmissions that still echoed in the outer systems. Unknown signals. Weird timing. Always at night, and each time they came, the girl would sit upright in bed, wide-eyed, frozen in fear. She never cried, but her breathing became sharp and fast, like she was remembering something. Terrible, Elias tried to comfort her. Kay sat beside her and gave her drawing paper again. She picked it up, slowly, and this time, she drew a symbol, not a picture. A glowing circle with 3 dots around it. Elias stared at it. It looked familiar, back in his quarters. Elias scanned the drawing. It matched something in the ancient alien database, an old warning found on a ruined ship years ago. Subject contains unstable core. Do not approach. Destroy on sight. It wasn't a symbol of safety. It was a warning label. But she had drawn it herself, not to threaten them, but to say, this is what they called me. Later that night, the girl surprised everyone. She walked, not far, just from her bed to the window. Her legs were weak, but steady. She looked out at the snow, silent, thoughtful. Then she did something strange. She pointed at the stars, then at Elias, then at Elias, then back to the stars. He watched carefully. You came from there? He asked softly. She nodded. He pointed at himself. And me. She tilted her head, then placed her hand over her heart. She didn't have the words. But Elias understood what she was trying to say. You are safe. I trust you. The next morning, things changed. She was sitting at the table when alarms started, blaring. Unidentified object entering orbit, the system voice repeated. No response to hails. Speed increasing. Everyone rushed to the command room down on the screen. A massive, dark ship. No lights, no signals, just cold silence. The alien girl stood behind them, staring at the screen. Then, without a word, she walked to the glass wall and drew the same warning symbol again. She drew it over the ship. The captain turned to Elias. She's trying to tell us, he whispered. That's who hurt her. Then they're not here to talk, Elias said. They're here to take her back or kill her. Back in the medbay, the girl stood still. Her body was trembling. Elias gently wrapped a blanket around her. Don't worry, he said. We won't let them take you. She turned to him then. Slowly, she raised both hands and pressed her fingertips to his chest. Just for a moment. A strange warmth spread through him. Not heat, but something else. And for the first time, she opened her mouth. No sound came out, but her lips moved. Elias read them. Thank you. The ship hovered in the sky like a silent monster. No signal. No answer. No lights, just a shadow above the ice. The outpost crew watched from the command room, frozen in fear. The alien girl stood near the window, her face pale, her glowing eyes locked onto the screen. That's their ship, Elias said quietly. The one she escaped from. The captain nodded slowly. It hasn't moved since it entered orbit. Maybe they're waiting for us to respond. They're watching, Elias said. Waiting for her to panic. And she was close. She stepped back from the window, her breath shaking. Hush. She gripped the blanket tighter around her shoulders. Her feet made no sound, but her fear filled the room like smoke. Then she turned to Elias and drew again. This time a symbol of a cage. A figure curled inside it, and beside it 3 tall figures, long arms, no faces. They stood still, like statues, but the lines around them screamed control and pain. She was a prisoner, Elias whispered. She wasn't just abandoned, she escaped. The girl pointed up, the ship then down at herself, then crossed her wrists together in odd. Then crossed her wrists together in odd. The shape of chains. Elias understood. They're not just here to find her. They're here to punish her. The base prepared for contact. Weapons were readied. Shields checked. Emergency codes reviewed. The ship in the sky still said nothing. But every hour, it moved a little closer. Like a predator waiting for the perfect strike. She's bringing danger, Officer Bren said, pacing. We should give her back before it's too late. She's not a thing to give, Elias said sharply. She's one girl. We're over 50 people on this base. Are we risking everyone for her? Elias didn't answer right away. Instead, he turned to the girl now curled in a corner of the medbay. Small, quiet, but watching. He walked to her, sat beside her. You ran from them, he said gently. Did you know we would help? She didn't nod. She didn't speak, but she drew. One more thing, a picture of a hand reaching out from a fire. Then another hand, human, pulling it free. And between them, the same words that started everything. Warm me. Elias smiled sadly. That was your last hope, wasn't it? The captain made a decision. If they land and they try to take her, we defend her, he told the team. We don't hand over someone who asked us for help. Some crew agreed. Others didn't, but the order stood. She's one of us now, the captain said. And that means something. The girl watched from the hallway. She understood. Tears slipped. down her cheek, but they weren't from fear anymore. They were from something she hadn't felt in a long time. Belonging. That night, the dark ship sent a message. Not in words, in a pulse. Every light in the base flickered. Doors shook. Screens went black. A low, strange hum filled the air. Then came the image. On every screen, a face, no mouth, no eyes. Just a shape. It spoke without sound. But the message was clear. Return the subject or be erased. The girl fell to her knees. Her hands shook. She covered her ears, though no sound came. Elias ran to her. "You're okay," he said. "You're not going back." She looked up at him, her lips trembling. Then, for the first time, she spoke out loud. Her voice was dry, broken, but it came. "No, please." Elias felt rage build inside him. She had a voice. And now they were trying to silence it again. He stood in the center of the base the next morning. "I know we're scared," he said to the crew. "I know this ship could destroy us, but if we give her up, what are we really protecting?" No one answered. He looked around. "She didn't come here to hurt us. She came here asking for warmth, not just heat, compassion." He pointed at the girl who now stood beside him, still weak, still small, but she's standing now and speaking. "Because we didn't turn away." The captain stepped forward. "You're right," he said. "We protect our own, and now she's ours." Outside, the sky darkened. The ship was descending. Ice cracked. Winds roared. The ice hunters had returned, not to save, but to destroy. What? They couldn't control, and the humans stood between them. And the girl who dared to ask, "Warm me?" The sky was no longer just cold. It was threatening. The ice hunter ship hovered lower now. Like a clawed hand reaching down from the clouds, its metal surface looked sharp, jagged, alive. The engines didn't roar. They hummed like a scream that hadn't started yet. Inside the human outpost, everyone stood ready. Guns were charged. Doors were sealed. The base's shield system buzzed quietly. One last barrier between the alien girl and the monsters who wanted her back. Elias stood at the front of the hallway, just beyond the medbay. Behind him stood the girl. She no longer looked like a frightened animal. She wore a simple human coat, too big for her small frame. Her glowing eyes stayed locked on the sky through the window. She knew they were here for her, and still, she didn't run. "They sent no words," the captain said, standing beside Elias. "No names, no warnings, just threats." "All they know," Elias replied. "Power, fear, chains." The girl heard those words. She lowered her head for a moment. Then, slowly, she stepped forward. In her hand, she held the first note again. The one she came with, "Warm me." She showed it to the captain, then gently pressed it against her own chest and shook her head. Elias understood instantly. She's saying this time she'll fight back. Outside, the snow cracked open as the alien ship landed. 3 tall figures stepped out. They weren't like her. They were cold metal and black skin, long arms and lifeless eyes. They moved without sound, their steps sinking deep into the snow, but they didn't slow down. They walked like they already owned the ground. From the speaker system, a voice finally came. Deep, mechanical. Final. The escaped subject is a danger to her own kind. Return her now. Elias activated the outside mic. She's not your subject anymore. She asked for help. We gave it. Then you share her fate. The ground shook. A blast hit the outer shield. The base rocked. Inside, alarms blared. Lights blinked red. The crew jumped into action, turrets powered on. Defense drones moved to position. shields held for now. Elias turned to the girl. "You can stay in the safe room," he said. She looked at him. Man stepped forward instead. "No," she said, her voice still soft but clear. "I stay. With family." That word hit Elias like a punch to the chest. She didn't just want warmth now. She had found something more powerful. Belonging. The ice hunters fired again. This time, corner wall cracked. The medbay light sparked. Then she stepped forward, her hands glowing faintly. Her hair lifted slightly, like a breeze touched it from within. She pressed her palm to the cracked wall, and the heat returned. Metal bent back into shape. Lights blinked. Back on, she's reinforcing the structure. A tech whispered in awe. "She's not just power," Elias said. "She's a miracle." Outside, the aliens charged. The humans met them in the snow. Lasers burned. Ice melted. Smoke filled the air. But in the center of it, all one line was held. A human stood with a blaster in each hand. Beside him, a medic with a shield. A mechanic, a farmer. A scientist, not soldiers. People defending the girl who held out a paper in her frostbitten hand and dared to hope for warmth inside. She collapsed. Too much energy used. Elias caught her. Hey, stay awake," he whispered. Her eyes fluttered, reached up weakly and pointed toward the window. More coming. She breathed. Elias looked outside. Another ship, but not like theirs. Smoother, brighter, and behind it 3 more. "What is that?" The captain shouted. "Not the hunters," Elias whispered. "It's something else." The new ships circled overhead and sent a different pulse. This one was gentle, blue, warm. The alien girl's eyes opened wider. Her lips trembled. "My mother's mark," she whispered. Everyone froze. Elias stared. "What did you say?" She sat up slowly. "The mark. Old home. Not all are bad." The ships landed beside the ice hunters. There was silence. Then light. The new arrivals stepped forward, not in weapons, but in robes of white and gold. They bowed before the girl and spoke in her language. She stood, and for the first time, she bowed back. The battlefield was covered in fire and snow. Smoke twisted through the freezing wind, mixing with laser burns in the ice. The human outpost stood half-broken but unshaken. Defense turrets kept firing. Shields flickered, holding on. With sparks and sparks alone, and in the middle of the chaos, the girl stood tall. She was no longer just a survivor. Now, she was something more. The moment the white and gold ships landed, everything changed. The ice hunters had frozen the skies, but the new ships warmed them. Their lights didn't burn, they glowed, gentle but strong. Like the promise of a sunrise after a storm, Elias ran out of the base, stopping beside her. "Who are they?" he asked, staring at the beautiful ship above them. She looked up slowly. "My mother's people, I thought." They were gone. The robed aliens came forward. They weren't soldiers. No armor, no weapons. Just peace woven into their movements. Their leader, a tall figure with soft golden eyes, dropped to one knee before her. They spoke in a soft, musical language. The girl listened, then tears filled her glowing eyes. Elias stood beside her, confused, but calm. What did they say? She turned to him. They said, "They've been searching for me since I escaped, that they feared I was lost forever, and they thank you." Elias blinked. "Me?" She nodded. "They say, no one in history has warmed one of our kind after the mark of exile. Until now." The ice hunters didn't care for words. They charged forward again this time, aiming straight for the girl. A blast shot from their main cannon, fast, hot, lethal. The golden-eyed leader didn't flinch, but the girl stepped in front of him. She raised both hands. A fire rose from her palms, not like a weapon, but like a sun had been born inside her. The blast struck the fire and disappeared. No explosion, no damage, just silence. Then the girl spoke louder than before. No more chains, no more cages. The ice hunters paused. Then the girl's fire spread across the snow. But it didn't melt everything. It drew a line, a glowing, red-gold line in the snow, between the hunters and the rest of the world. Elias stood behind it. So did the robed ones, so did every human. And the girl said one word that echoed like thunder. Choose. For the first time, the ice hunters hesitated. Their machines slowed. Their steps faltered. The fire wasn't just fire. It was truth. A power long buried. A force they once tried to destroy. And it had returned in the girl. They left to die in the cold. One ice hunter moved forward, then stopped. It dropped its weapon, then knelt in the snow. And behind it, more followed. Not all, but some. They crossed the line quietly, ashamed, free. The girl didn't. Smiled, she simply closed her eyes, and the fire faded. Not gone, just resting inside her, back inside the base. The captain stared at the screens. We were seconds from death, he said, and we were saved by a girl holding a crumpled note. Elias replied. He held the paper again. Warn me. It had started everything, and now it had ended something too. Later that evening, the survivors gathered. The girl sat near the fire pit in the command hall. She wore new clothes, now white and red, the colors of her people. The robed aliens stood behind her, calm and quiet. Elias walked over. She smiled, real, soft, and then she handed him something. A new note. He unfolded it. This time, it said, "Thank you for making me more than what they called me." He looked at her. "You were always more," he said. She reached for his hand. "But I didn't know, until you stayed." Outside, the snow finally stopped falling, and the stars came out. Not cold, not cruel, but warm, because this time, fire had met ice and changed everything. The snow no longer felt like ice. It felt soft, gentle. The war was over. The fire was gone from the sky, and the wind had lost its scream. The ice hunters had fled into the mountains, those who refused to change. The rest had dropped their weapons and crossed the glowing line, choosing something they never thought possible. Peace. The alien girl, once silent, once frozen, once forgotten, now walked through the outpost like she had always belonged. The humans no longer stared at her with fear. They smiled. She didn't speak much, but when she did, her voice was calm now, not shaky, not broken. Elias walked beside her, his hands in his pockets, his breath fogging in the morning air. "You know," he said, "when we found you, I thought you were a ghost." She smiled gently. "Maybe I was." He looked at her. "No," he said, "you were something waiting to wake up." The base had changed. 2 walls were rebuilt. The med bay had a new wing. A memorial stood outside, dedicated to the day of warmth. Not a battle. A change. The girl's name was carved in the stone, in both human and alien script. Not as a hero, not as a weapon, but as a beginning. That night, she joined the humans. At the fire pit, it had become a tradition now. Every week, everyone gathered. No ranks, no orders. Just food, stories, and warmth. Children sat around the flames, laughing and tossing snowballs. Medics, engineers, and officers all sat on the same benches. The golden-robed visitors joined in too. One even tried human marshmallows, and immediately spit it out. Laughter followed. Even the girl laughed, not loud, but real. And it reached Elias's heart like a song he didn't know he needed. She leaned closer to the fire. held out her hands, then gently whispered, "When I was in the cage, I dreamed of fire, but it always burned." Elias looked at her, waiting. She continued, "This is the first time fire feels kind." He nodded. "Fire's like people," he said. "Some just destroy, others give life." She smiled again. "I'm staying," she said softly. "You are? This is home now." If I can stay?" Elias didn't answer with words. He simply stood up, took off his coat, and wrapped it around her shoulders. "You never have to ask again." The next morning, the robed visitors prepared to leave. They had other lost ones to find, other frozen stars to visit. The girl stood before them, her silver hair shining in the light. Bowed to her. "You carry more than your blood," he said. She bowed in return. "And I give more than my fire." He placed something in her hand, small crystal glowing with soft heat. "If you ever need us," he said, "this will guide us back to you." Then he turned to Elias. "And if she ever needs you," Elias smiled, "I'll already be there." Time. Passed weeks, then months. The outposts thrived, and one room was no longer a medbed, was hers inside. Above her bed hung the old note, the one with shaky words, "Warm me." But below it, a new note was pinned, one she had written herself in clean handwriting. "You did." One evening, snow began to fall again. She stood outside, watching it fall on her palms. Elias stepped up beside her. "Cold?" She shook her head. "No." Then she turned to him. "Do you know what warmth really is?" He raised an eyebrow. "Enlighten me." She pointed to the base behind them, the lights inside, the laughter, the people. "It's not heat," she said. "It's people who let you feel safe. It's hands that don't hurt, voices that don't scream, eyes that don't judge." He looked at her quietly. "And hearts," she finished, placing her hand over his chest, "that stay open, even when they're scared." Elias couldn't speak. He just nodded. The sky above them twinkled stars. Tars, distant stars. But Huron, this small outpost in the middle of nowhere, knew fire. Burned not one of destruction, but one of hope. She had arrived frozen, silent, holding only a note now. She had a voice, a home, and a future.